Here.
Kara Beer,
Here.
Amy Marciano Ratliff,
Here.
Carla Reynolds,
Present.
Bester Davis.
Here.
Okay, and I think that is all the members for the board that I see. Am I missing anyone? And not call anybody's name? All right, we have a quorum. So the first item on the agenda is a review and approval of the agenda. I think everyone has had an opportunity to review any additions or subtractions to the agenda. Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Kelly.
Thanks, Kelly.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, next item is the review and approval of the minutes from the September 22nd, 2022 regular meeting. Were there any additions or comments regarding the same?
Move for approval.
Yep, thank you. Can I get a support?
Support.
Thank you. It's been moved and supported to approve the September 22nd, 2022 minutes. All those in favor? Say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. All right, we have any old business to discuss? I don't see anything. Phil, do you have anything to say on old business? Or do you want to
I
leave?
do not, Commissioner. Thank you.
All right, let's move to new business. And we have some updates from the city staff.
Awesome. Thank you, Commissioner. And I think I'm able to share my screen here. Let's see. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, perfect. Famous meeting lines here, seeing my screen. So, yes, thank you, Commissioner Lance. Happy holidays, everybody. As Commissioner Lance had said, this is the December 15th Airport Advisory Board. So, what I'll do today is I'll give everybody an update where we are with our ALP, where we are with our airport certification transition. I'll go over the airport, any airport developments update we've had since our last meeting. I'll talk about some FAA competitive grants that we applied for last week. And then I don't have it on here. I'm just going to wrap up with kind of what I'm hoping to see, or what, possibilities we could do with the advisory board in the upcoming year. And I'd love everybody's thoughts on that. So I'll get started with kind of the update for the ALP. So again, currently it's kind of, hey, where are we with this? We've been waiting and waiting for about 8 months. It's been submitted to the state. We're hoping to get it on the Aeronautics Commission agenda for January. In order to really start the process, the state needs to release the funds to the airports. Like I said last time, no airport in the state has received bill funding yet, so they still have not. We had folks from the state over here today, still don't have a estimate on when those funds will be released. Thankfully, this being a planning document, we didn't miss a construction season or have to use really city or local funds and then wait to get reimbursed. So we really haven't been pushed too far back in the timetable. We would have liked to have started in the fall, but we'll probably hopefully get started as soon as those funds get released. There was an update. I didn't put it on here, but we were scheduled to get $295,000 per year for 5 years. The FAA slightly adjusted those numbers. So for the second year, we'll be receiving $292,000. So they didn't really give a rhyme or reason. They reshuffled some airports around from the funding that they received. So we only lost about $3,000. That didn't affect the ALP project. We still have enough funds to meet the fees that would be expected during this project, and we're not going to see any increases in any of the pricing either as we go forward. So hopefully the next step with the ALP, once it gets approved by the Aeronautics Commission at the state level, we get the funding from the state and the FAA, we can move it forward to the city commission and then officially begin the airport layout plan process. I've talked in length about that. Does anybody though, before I jump to that, does anybody have any questions specifically on the ALP or the ALP update? All right, so I will move on then to the airport certification. We successfully transitioned from FAA certification to state certification. So that was approved by the FAA at the beginning of November. Again, the main or one of the main reasons that the airport chose to do this is we're not utilizing our 139 certificate. So that certificate is used for commercial service airports. So airports that receive commercial flights like United, Delta, American, traditional airports that folks are used to flying in and out of commercially. This airport is kind of how it was rebranded, an executive airport, a general aviation airport. We focus on other aspects of aviation. So we weren't using the 139 certificate in any way that it was intended to be used. We had to maintain certain criteria, which was costing staff time, costing the airport money, costing the city money, and there was no return on it. If you were to kind of compartmentalize it and say, hey, was there any ROI or return on investment for this 139 certificate? Absolutely not. If there, again, where talks about, well, what if, maybe in the future, can the airport go back and receive or go back to getting its 139 certificate? Absolutely. We can go back to the FAA. We could get our 139 certificate if there was a client or an airline or somebody, a charter service that wanted to operate out of here and they needed to operate out of an airport with the 139 certificate. If the airport thought that it was in the best interest to capture that market, we could go back to the FAA and get approved for a 139 certificate. So this is not a one and done. We've exited from the 139 or the commercial operations of aviation. We just currently do not have to meet those standards. Another reason we don't or we didn't feel it was necessary to maintain it is there's chemicals that had to be stored and maintained at the airport for firefighting reasons. Those contain PFAS. There's currently foam or chemicals that is used by other places such as fire departments that it works just as good. It doesn't contain PFAS. It's not certified by the FAA yet. So we're now able to use different types of foam that are PFAS free or environmentally friendly if we wanted to do that here at the airport. Under the 139 certificate, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So we've already been working with our FAA partners, our state partners. We've completely officially become a state inspected or state licensed airport as instead of a FAA licensed airport. So we'll continue to work with the state. They're hoping to come sometime in the spring. They haven't really given us a definite date yet. We'll see when they can get out here. Once we do get on a normal schedule, they'll be out here every 3 years inspecting the airport. So we're looking forward to that. We can, again, customize more of the airport's response plans, snow removal, emergency response, wildlife response. A lot of what we want to do or what this airport is capable of doing, we're able to work really just with the state and make it a better place to operate and work out of. So we're very excited for that. Are there any questions on the airport transition? All right.
I got a quick question, Phil.
Oh, go ahead, Bester.
How does that impact like drones by you becoming state regulated? I know that there was some discussion about a drone park or drones flying at the airport.
Yeah, great question. So currently the FAA is farther behind than they'd like to be in terms of certification of drone operating spaces. So you might hear the words beyond visual line of sight or advanced air mobility. all of these buzzwords are really going to be highlighted in the new FAA Reauthorization Act that's scheduled or slated to be really written and debated this upcoming year in 2023. What we're doing here is should help us. We don't, again, have to necessarily currently, or I should say previously, when we were with the FAA, we had to write certain requirements when we had drone sightings and what we were going to do, ways to really just help the airport operate. They were really just focused on, hey, how are you going to keep a drone from negatively affecting your airport? The FAA wasn't concerned about, hey, how are you going to grow drone activity or UAS activity at your airport? Now that we are in a state certified or state certification role, the state, one, they want to help us in that venture. They want to help us capture that market, but they're in no way going to inhibit drones from operating in or out of this airport. So the FAA isn't necessarily going to disallow you or a commercial service airport from that, but they understand that commercial service airports and drones really don't mix. It's either, one or the other. So they were worried about it. The FAA is worried about, hey, what are you going to do if you see a drone? How are airports going to react to that? What do you have to do to not allow that drone to impact commercial passenger service? Where we are now, or where this airport is, again, we'd like to encourage that type of activity, and we can work with the state. We can still work with the FAA because they'll continue to provide guidance and advisory circulars on how to grow that industry. But the state is in no way going to hinder or hamper a drone park or any type of UAS development at the airport. Did that answer your question, Vester?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody else? All right. So I'll move on to airport development. Great ribbon cutting ceremony we had here back in October 7th. Duncan officially broke ground. If anybody gets the chance to drive up South Airport Road, you'll see a lot of construction. There's really two main construction sites, the three-part $40 million expansion. Right by our office, just outside of my window, they're building a vehicle maintenance building, kind of ground support equipment storage for some of their vehicles and some of their ground support vehicles that they'll be using here. The main hangar that they'll be building, if anybody has ever gone to Waco Kitchen or anybody that's driven down maybe by the FAA control tower, right before that, kind of that space right there, you'll see it. It's nice and wide open right now. That's where they're doing all of their work. So those two sites, there's also a third edition that they're doing, but they're currently underway. They're doing a great job. The airport attends weekly meetings with the contractors, Duncan, really anybody else that's involved with the project, and we help to answer any questions we can, or we do the best that we can to make sure that everything is staying on schedule. It sounds like it is. We just had one yesterday, so we're very happy that this is moving forward. It's still scheduled for completion, I believe still first quarter 2024. So we're very excited for that. And that was a process that's really taken several years, even through COVID and all the financial or really just economic and worldwide chaos that called. The fact that this project was still able to move forward is phenomenal. So very excited for Duncan, very excited for the city and all the jobs that will bring in and the expansion of the airport and the development here. So any questions specifically about the Duncan expansion? All right. So I will move on to one of the pieces here that the airport tries every time there is a grant, or whether it's competitive, discretionary, entitlements, any type of money that's out there for airports. Infrastructure is a big keyword nowadays with the current administration. So through the bipartisan infrastructure law, there's a couple different names or a couple different pieces to that law. There are 5 years worth of competitive grants to specific air traffic control towers. We are one of 156 eligible airports. So our air traffic control tower is eligible for these grants. They currently, each year have it slated for $20 million each year until 2026. There's a possibility, or there's talk that there might be additional funds added, approximately maybe 10 years, or I'm sorry, $10 million more dollars added to that. We'll see if that gets added. But the first year, March, this was the first year, 2022, that grants were selected. There were 20 airports selected in 2022. 2023's application process just ended last Tuesday. So there's only 3 airports in the state of Michigan that have eligible towers: us, Jackson, Michigan, and then Sawyer up in the UP. And out of, again, 156, 20 of those were chosen. A lot of these airports a lot of these towers are very old, World War II era towers, 80-year-old towers. A lot of the airports had asbestos that needed to be removed. They weren't ADA compliant. They had very old or aging, either structural problems, communication problems, maybe some lighting problems. I'm still hopeful that we get chosen. I'll move on to this next slide. We submitted grants for an airfield lighting control management system, a new camera array to help us have better situational awareness and response on the airfield, upgrades to our lighting control and equipment, and then there's humidifier equipment. It's actually what we decided to do, and I made this before I had submitted them. There's a generator that currently works with specifically the air traffic control tower. We put an application for a new generator for that. So the deadline, like I said, was December 6th. We won't know until May who those grants get awarded to. I don't know, out of the $20 million, anywhere from $50,000 to about $2.2 million. That was those grants that were awarded. So the ask that we put in ranged from about $175,000 to about $500,000, depending on the project. So we're right in the ballpark, or in the range of what they've awarded in the past. Again, I'm hopeful. The tower that we have here was built in 2004, so it's just over 18 years old. Last year we had a boiler failure, we had a chiller failure. Stuff's getting to the end of its useful life. The airfield lighting control management system is original to the building. So we're hoping that, again, the grants that we submitted meet the criteria. They meet all the criteria listed on the application. We're just hoping that it's good enough for the folks in DC to select us. So we'll find out in May. The grant wouldn't get awarded until July. It is 100%. It's a 100% grant, so there's no match required by the city or the state, and it is reimbursable too. So if we were to start this project, such as the airfield lighting control management system or monitoring system, if we already started that and we've met all the requirements for reimbursement, that is something that we could get reimbursed for. So we're hopeful. Unfortunately, we won't find out until May, but we will see what happens with that. Are there any questions on the competitive grants that the airport applied for? All right, so this last slide here, yes, I do want to say happy holidays, and I thought this was a very appropriate FAA approved Santa. If you're into aviation, it's definitely probably what the FAA would want Santa to have on his sleigh. But I did really quick want to mention a couple things and bring it up to the board, and I would love to hear what everybody would think. I came into this job just over a year ago. Everybody here has been very great and helpful throughout this whole process. I know governance study and governance of the airport was kind of one of the primary roles and responsibilities of this board. We've now kind of shifted to a development role and a development piece. In the coming year, we're going to have this ALP process I would love for an actual on-site airport advisory board meeting. We have the space here. We currently meet quarterly. I would love, people's thoughts on that. I think that's still a good amount of updates to give to everybody. I was hopeful or thinking I'd love to hear your thoughts on maybe a June meeting at the airport. So that would be the second meeting of the year. We'd be pretty far into our update. Duncan would be pretty well into their construction. We'd still have a lot going on here at the airport. We could do the meeting, walk folks around, show everybody. I want everybody, especially the folks here on this board, but everybody in the community to feel like this is their airport. This is the city's airport. It's a fantastic resource. It's a beautiful airport. It's a beautiful building. There's so much that this airport has to offer. So I'd love to invite everybody down here for an actual meeting. I think June would be great because it is nicer out. After that, again, you could go out and actually see some of the spaces. It gives people, you might see it as you drive by, or you might see the planes flying in and out of here. I think it would build a great connection with not only the community, but the members of the board to come out here. So I want to say thank you for everybody. This has been a fantastic year for me just so far, and my staff. Everything that we've gone through over the past 3 years, where there was a lot. There was some reorganization. There was this ALP update, an understanding that we got from our governance results. Everybody in here is extremely, I believe, extremely well suited for this board, because the comments and the questions that I've gotten from all of you have been fantastic. So I want to thank you for your continued support, and obviously being here and being a part of this board. I love presenting to everybody on here. I love getting to hear what everyone has to say. So before I turn it over to the rest, I just want to see if anybody has any thoughts on what they would think of a June visit to the airport, and if they had any comments or questions just on either the past year or going forward into the new year.
Thanks, Phil. I appreciate the invite, and I do think that would be a good thing to get everyone together at least once. Probably enough. Certainly at the airport, it really is a tremendous resource. And I've been to Waco, and of course been to the air show several times, but never really probably been through the facilities as you may be able to get us access through. So I at least would be in favor of having the June meeting at the airport.
I agree too. This is Carla Reynolds. Sounds great. And thank you for all that you do for us. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so good. Why don't we plan on that, Phil?
Okay. Yeah. And I'll work
reminders and such.
Okay. Yeah. What we'll do too, we can figure out if you want to talk about at the end of this meeting for that. I was probably, because the air show is at the end of July, maybe the beginning of June. We don't have to nail down a date right now. We could either talk about it specifically at the next meeting in March and see maybe what everybody's availability is in that.
Let's do that. Let's do it the next meeting. We'll throw it on.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Yeah. And that's my piece, unless anybody else has anything.
Does anyone have any more questions for Phil? Thanks, Phil. Good presentation. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.
TR, book and events and community engagement.
Good. How you doing? We're still plugging along with that. It's hard to believe it's going to be 2023 here real quick. We've got a lot going on. We've had meetings, and they kind of turn into brainstorming sessions, but we're hopefully nailing down a complete timeline within the next few months. Our next meeting will be January 13th at 10 o'clock, and all of you are welcome to participate. I think I've kept many of you in the loop on that. We've gone forward with getting the plaque. We're gonna have a state historical plaque out there by the airplane doing that. I am right now in January scheduling meetings with some of the tenants just to go over and brief them and get them on board. Duncan, Waco, Western, and others out there. We're just gonna make sure they're in the loop on this, and we got some good ideas for some big events, but kind of want to get them involved. Work is progressing on a book. Some of the historians, we got stories together already. It's just a matter of getting it all together and getting it published, and that's kind of one of the big hurdles we've got. And other than that, I just encourage everybody to join with us. You're all welcome to be part of it, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be here before we know it. The September 24 is what we're going to call the grand event. And it's looking like we may do something in one of the hangars, or those details are still being worked out. And then some events over the summer. So I'll have a lot more details going forward, but your help on this is greatly appreciated, and we're going to keep it going to sell the airport to the community, get them out, and help with economic development of this up there. So it's going to be a fun time. So
Thanks, TR. Appreciate the update and obviously your dedication and service to making the Centennial thing come off seamlessly. Looks like we have our last item on the agenda is date and time of the next meeting. Obviously, we'll have it at Zoom again. Is there any preference for the 16th or the 23rd of March? They're both Thursdays. Yeah, it's so far away it seems, but I'm sure I'll be here tomorrow.
I would probably recommend closer to the 16th because I
16th?
believe spring break is pretty close to that 23rd date.
All right, let's do the 16th unless anybody has any objections to that. Okay, good. Is there any persons in the waiting room for public comment?
No public comments, Commissioner.
Perfect. Any comments from the board or people sitting here today? Good for the order?
Hi there. I just wanted to add to what TR was saying. He did not mention that he has been working on an article for one of the magazines here in Michigan that has to do with the history of the airport as well. So we have been working with Jessica downtown and a communications team to get our timeline out there. So when we're ready to announce the outline and the events to the public, that it'll go smoothly through city channels and out to the public.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Penny.
yeah, hopefully it'll be I'm submitting it from Michigan History Magazine, which is a statewide publication on the history of the airport. It's condensing 100 years of history into an article is a challenge. There's so many great things have happened. But hopefully it'll be, if we get it in at deadline, we should have it hopefully in March, April magazine.
Excellent. Well, you guys will obviously, when that unrolls, we will get notice of it. So good. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. Anything else from anybody? Seeing none, I think we're adjourned. Everyone have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all that fun stuff.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks.